Hi all, MTG Joe here, and we're ready for another installment of the weekly meta shakedown, breakdown, basically looking at the week that was to see what the top performing decks are on the MTG Arena ladder for both historic and standard. We look at both best of one and best of three formats, and we're doing so by leveraging the companion tool Untapped GG. It is a very useful kind of plugin that works alongside Arena on PC and mobile, tracks all your games, win rates, stuff like that, and then aggregates it into really helpful data that which we could then derive here. It's free to use, so if you want to get the app, just follow the link in the video description down below. Take you to the site, you can download it, and then you're able to see like which decks you can craft, what cards you're missing, all that good jazz as well. So jumping into it, we are looking from October 31st, Halloween, to now, which is November 7th. So midway through Sunday afternoon when recording this, we are looking at a total sample size for best of one standard of 230,000 matches from platinum to mythic rank. Within there, we are looking at the top kind of performing deck list with a sample size of 200 matches. And what we have at the top are kind of our go-to in terms of mono white and mono green aggro. The mono white aggro looks to have shifted back to the exile based. So what we've been seeing with mono white from week to week is kind of a back and forth push between the exile aggro version as well as the kind of cast 2. So what kind of differentiates them is you'll see like Stonebinder's Familiar, you'll see the Sun Gold Sentinel, and then the 8 exile effects in terms of Brutal Cathar and Skyclave Apparition paired with the Portable Hole. In my particular version, I like to run Maul the Skyclave. We're also seeing this package here with the Legion Angel. So one way to attack the meta, go very aggressive mono white, disrupt your opponent. Mono white tends to have the best win rate against mono green, so you're seeing it edge out. And mono green this week is kind of shaken up. It's kind of gone back to the kind of day one mono green, if you would. The 4x Renin 7, 4x Briarbridge Tracker, just Blizzard Brawl version. Notably, they are playing Outland Liberator in the main. So it's an interesting inclusion for stuff like Meathook Massacre. If you have Portable Holes, Mirror matches, you have Eska's Chariot, Ranger's Class, stuff like that. This version is actually playing 26 lines, which is interesting. Pretty high on the line count for this version, where if you look at like mono green. And then we see a deck that's kind of pushed through this week in terms of Rakdos control. I'd say it's like Rakdos midrange, Blood on the Snow archetype. So you are looking to play kind of your core package of iTwitch, Shambling Ghast, and then this version here is going Kalane into Immersturm Predator. Just it's a very effective card against some decks where they don't have exile-based removal. Gelatinous Cube is a card that has seen very little play, but it's being featured in this deck here along with Orcus, topping out on Goldspan. So it is feasible to like turn if your gas dies with so 1, 2, you can go 3 with Goldspan Dragon, and you have some recursive elements. Notably, this version's creature heavier and only playing 1 Lulth. Whereas if we look at the mono black control list below, a little bit more controlling in its elements. You are seeing the 4 of Lulth, the 2 of Professor Onyx, as well as the Meathook Massacres. This one's looking to grind more. Probably has a better matchup just in terms of sweeper-based, but is probably not as quick to close out the games. Your creature packages are just the iTwitch, Shambling Ghast, and Skullport Merchant, and then you have like just a bunch of targeted removal, stuff of that nature. We see another take on mono white aggro. We see just the lines are different in this one. And then we see Azorius Control, which had some showings. This is the Liera version. Recast your Sunset Revelries, recast your removal, stuff of that nature there. You're basically winning through Hall of the Storm Giants with this deck, or your fetched mascot exhibitions. We have Orzhov Clerics, which is a deck, this particular version, I believe Crokies was playing. You have your Blade Historian for double strike, Drana to reanimate stuff, Valkyrie to get a bunch of tokens, and you're basically playing a Pyre as a Hero deck to recurse stuff with Orov or Skyclave Hierophant. We see an instance of Is It Turns. Like I say in past weeks, really what you want to be mindful of is the removal package. that they're playing. So this particular version's on Battle of Frost and Fire over Burn Down the House. And then this one here does have Cinderclasms, and they're starting to play Catharic Pyre as well. Pyre is actually a very useful card, I think, in this deck, especially in Best of One. You're going to get matchups where, for example, if you're playing against Mono White, Test of Talents is a useless card. For the most part, Negate's not that great either. Disdainful Stroke. These cards are not really useful in that matchup, so you can just basically throw them away with Cathartic Pyre. On the flip side, if you're against a control deck, you're not going to want Cinderclasms or generally Burn Battle of Frost, so you can ditch those cards as well. We have Humans List, featured with Sigarda, so kind of a mashup of the aggressive green decks. Various Blood on the Snow piles. This is being called Rakdos Control, but it's a very similar idea. This one's playing Florian as a way for some card advantage, but kind of a mid-rangey borderline control. We see some Jund Dragons, some Werewolves, kind of closing up the side. What I like to do too is just flip the switch to just see what the top Mythic decks are. If we're looking at that, see pretty much mono white aggro. If we look at a smaller sample size, yeah, so it's pretty much what we're looking at, mono white, mono green. So it's where the top of the ladder is right now for the last week. There's not going to be as big of a sample size in Mythic because it's only been 1 week. Like I was able to make Mythic in 2 days, got in at number 12, but I was playing Historic. In Best of 3, we're seeing a 25,000 game sample size for the same parameters. And what we see, mono white aggro, again, topping this up. This version is the Cast 2 version with Clarion Spirit and Monk of the Hidden Hands. And this version is also playing Paladin class. There tends to be more control or more turns decks in Best of 3. So you'll see Paladin class being more useful there. Jund Dragons is a deck that's had some success in the last week or so. There's a few variations that go around, but it's the core of like Jaspara, Magda, Prosperous Innkeeper into your Goldspan early. The black in this version, you're getting some Valkies, a Lolth, Immerstorm Predator as another threat, and then some actual hard removal and discard in the sideboard. If you look at the sideboard, basically all your iterations are black in here, Duress, stuff of that nature. We have a new take on Azorius Control. This version, I think, got number 1 Mythic this month, but it's kind of the Teferi Stadium deck, tap on tap. You have some Malvent Hermits in the main board, you're taking turns, you're upping this, and this is kind of your primary win con. Notably with this version here, they're opting for Cave of the Frost Giant over Hall of the Storm Giants, which is an interesting take. I feel like Hall's just overall better. It's a little bit more of a mana inclusion, but just having that protection on your land and 7 power just closes it out really quick. It's also playing Amiria's Call, so a little bit heavier on win conditions in that particular version. We see Stompy coming in. Nothing really unique about this week's version. Another take on Jund Dragons. Stompy again. We have Is It Dragons coming in. They update anything? Nope. And then Esper Control, Esper Lier. So kind of a Sedgemoor Witch Lier deck. The Esper elements with white coming into the Dimir deck is really just for Vanishing Verse. Just catch all removal in the deck. Everything else is coming with your blue-black shell. Just helps you deal with some like enchantments, stuff of that nature. Again, we'll see if we have enough of a population size for the first week of the month. Nope. If we go, no, nobody's grinded that hard yet. Let's see if we go Diamond. Mono white, mono green dragons. So kind of the top of the deck right now. It's early in the week and we are getting a new standard set. So popping into Historic, this is the format I've been playing a lot the last week, getting into Mythic. What we have is mono red aggro coming in. So this is kind of the just aggressively slanted deck. You're looking to give stuff haste with Ringleader. You have your Roiling Vortex, and then you're just going to slap a cleave on it. A deck that's actually interesting is this Boros Burn deck. Just a lot of removal, and then you have stuff like Leon Lightscribe. You can buy back stuff with Dreadhorde Arcanist. It's a DRC deck, so kind of playing there. We have 2 takes on Auras. They're basically the same deck. The only difference is one's playing 3 pathways and 3 glacials. One's playing 2 glacials, 4 pathways. But the card that's kind of been kicking my ass this week is Hushbringer in the main. I was on Shamans through all the Platinum, and then I was playing my Smoldering Gearhulk deck for best of 3, but this is just shutting off a lot of enter battlefield effects. Also, the lifelink is really relevant when you pair it up in terms of racing. In terms of protection with this deck, really it's just 2 Karametra's Blessings. There's times where these decks play Spell Pierce or Dovin's Veto, so just being mindful this is their only protection spell if they're taking the straight net deck. We see mono green elves, like a lot of the effects of this deck with enter the battlefield get shut off with Hushbringer as well. Like I said, we see the mono red aggro, we see the Dragonstorm combo deck, which is basically a self-milled deck where you're trying to target Dragonstorm with the Mizzix Mastery, or you can get Sultai Ultimatum, Emergent Ultimatum, and you kind of combo there. A few ways to do it, even just reanimating a Skull of the Lost Troves to target your Mastery or any of these effects. And how you win is when you have out a single Tear the Peaks, 2 Bladewing the Risens create an infinite loop of enter the battlefield, and you burn out your opponent that way there. I faced off some of these versions that are playing Cathartic Pyre as removal. Some are playing Brazen Borrower as well, but this one looks to be all linear in terms of the combo, which is Prismari Command. We see Selesnya Humans, pretty much like the stock list, a taxing effect, which does better, I find, when it's more control-y based. It's a little bit weaker, I find, into the creature mirrors. It can go bigger, but you're really not playing much removal other than like the Brutal Cathars, 2 of, and the 1 Skyclave Apparition. We have 2 takes on Angels for looking at differences. One version's heavier on the Ajani, one has some Fateful Absences, and one has a Redain. But kind of the core, you're playing your Righteous Valkyries to gain life and just make an army in a can. We have Rakdos Arcanist, which this deck kicked my ass too this week when I was on the graveyard deck and they went go blank, and I was trying to reanimate stuff with Mizzix Mastery. We have the Squirrel Twin combo, which is the Scurio combo. We played that last week as well. Goblins is having a bit of a resurgence, and we see that with Munitions Expert. So they call it Rakdos Goblins. It's basically mono red goblin, splash 2 cards for Rakdos. Munitions Expert as just a more useful removal spell. Also Flash could kind of come in handy, as well as a Sling Gang Lieutenant, another sacrifice effect that drains out your opponents. You're always kind of wanting to play black because of Phyrexian Tower, so it works out pretty well. We have the Niv Deck, which is basically just a big mana, powerful spell deck, some Madness, some Shamans as well. We have Jeskai Control. Is it Control? This is my list. Hey, we made it. So this is my list. Actually pretty cool that we're up here, but it is a Smoldering Egg Torrential Gearhulk deck. So some of the inclusions, you have Brazen Borrow to break up combos, Rest in Peace, Cage, 9 lives combo. Oh, sorry. Did not mean to click that. Where are we? Bone Crusher breaks up the 9 lives lock as well. But really what you're trying to do is put cards into your graveyard, get either a turn 3/4 Magma Opus, or ramp up to Torrential Gearhulk and cast Opus. You can flip Smoldering Egg, which then just controls the board as well. So that's actually really cool, seeing this deck show up. I'm actually curious to see if it gets a better win rate. Insufficient data, so not enough. So we're getting folks playing it. If we look at all levels, still has a 54% win rate. So positive win rate. I was quite high with it, close to 70%, I think, with the deck itself. Actually curious. I was playing a bit more with it. Come on. I'm 69. Nice. Yeah, so really good against the creature-based decks. I'd say 9 lives is a bit tricky, as well as Dragonstorm combo. This is kind of just a demo of like your tracked games, percentages, everything like that. Best of 3 historic. Same sample size. We have Selesnya Company, like the Humans deck. We have a few of them. Just like variations. There's a lot of cards you could play in the Human Shell, so some will be on Sigardas, some aren't, but really you're just playing a taxing deck. I think Yasharn is really well placed in the meta right now, just dealing with all the various forms of sacrifice decks. We have Angels, which kind of surprises putting up results in best of 3. It's really weak to sweepers, but I guess the fact that you have 4 toughness when the majority of the sweepers are Anger of the Gods based or Clarion kind of sets you apart. Niv, which it's consistently putting up results. I don't particularly like it. We played it this week if you want to see. Lost to mana more than anything else. We have Arcanist. I think this deck is a very good deck. It's soft to graveyard hate, but we're seeing like Pyromancer tech in the sideboard. It's a very thought intensive deck, I would say. So something that I wouldn't play like late at night. We're seeing Phoenix, and then we're seeing Citadel, about 50% win rate. So that's kind of what we're seeing from Untapped. There's a couple deck lists I just want to point out. So from Aaron Gertler, I believe former MPL pro player, this is a list he's been playing for Historic. He's in day 2. I was watching today of the Mythic Invitational Qualifier. It's an affinity deck. So you have like Thought Monitor that gets cost reduced. You have your Nettlesys. Ingenious Smith finds cards. So this deck's really cool, and he's been having a lot of success. He got up to Mythic with it, pretty high win rate. So you can check out on his Twitter if you want to download the deck itself. And then Seth Manfield, professional Magic player, professional top decker. He wants to ruin Historic by bringing Epiphany over, but it's its turn deck. What we're seeing in Standard, just kind of juiced up with Historic, better spells, better mana, and you're playing stuff like Archmage's Charm, Prismari, Unexpected Windfall into your Alrund's Epiphany, copying that with Niv Mizzet Perrin on kind of your top end, copy those spells, get those cards. So these are both 2 decks. We didn't see them in the meta breakdown, but were quite high up on the ladder, both last month and coming into this month. So definitely something to check out, I would say. If you are interested in these decks, both can be found on their respective Twitter pages. But that wraps up this week. We will be going into the new Standard on Thursday. I'll pull stats on Friday and do kind of an impromptu into the weekend version of this. So we can see what going into the weekend are the most played cards, stuff like that for the new set. Try to give you some samples, stuff like that, but we'll do 2 next week, Friday, and then have 1 for Monday as well. But if you do have deck lists for the new set, drop them in the comments. I don't have too much time because I'm moving to do all my brews this go around, so look to feature individuals' decks as well, both like on Instagram and on my YouTube. We'll try to play some games on Thursday for the new set. So if you can, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be playing a bunch of new content, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one, and stay safe out there.